What is up, everybody? Welcome back to our next lesson. All right, so today take a look daily agenda and our goal. So our goal for today is to be able to talk about the country of Iran. That'll make more sense in a second. All right, so things you're gonna do for this lesson. Number one, take out your notebook and something to write with as usual. Okay. Here are the steps in order to complete this lesson. So number one, we got about 5 minutes of slideshow notes. So just hang on with this video while you get something to write with, take a few notes. Then I'm going to have you guys watch a cool video on YouTube. I'll provide the link in the agenda sheet on Schoology. Then you're going to have a quick worksheet and you're going to have a discussion question. All right, so not so bad. All together, shouldn't take you more than 40 minutes. All right, so let's go ahead and get this done. All right, so we are going to be moving on to the last step in subunit 2, which is talking about the legitimacy test. All right, so take a look here. You should have your notebook out and something to write with already. All right, so the next thing we're going to be talking about is the legitimacy test. Now, what this test is asking is for you to decide if the country is legitimate or not. So there are certain things that make a government legitimate. They are the things that we've talked about so far. So in order for a government to be legitimate, right, we talked a little bit about legitimacy. It means that the people have to accept the country as the ruler. And here, let me go back to it so you guys can see. Where is it? Okay, so legitimacy is the idea, right, is that something, the government, is deemed acceptable by a majority of people. Okay, so that was our definition of legitimacy. Now, the test has to do with the other things that we've learned. All right, so in order for a government to be legitimate, one, it has to be accepted by a majority of people. Two, it has to fulfill the five purposes of government, right? And it also has to have authority. If I remember from our last lesson, authority is the government's ability to use power and coercive force, right? So these are all of these things that we've talked about are coming together, all right? So legitimacy, authority, the five purposes of government, and the five different types of power. Okay, if a government has all of those things together, it is a legitimate government. Okay, so the goal of the rest of this subunit is for you guys to be able to decide if a government is legitimate or not. Are they able to pass the legitimacy test, or are they able to mark off all of the things that we've talked about so far? Again, five purposes of government, legitimacy, authority, five types of power. Do they have coercive force, right? So in order to do that, we are going to engage in a little bit of a case study. A case study is when you take one example and do a really deep dive into that example in order to figure out things. So we're going to be looking at the country of Iran, right? So you guys are probably familiar with Iran a little bit. They've been in the news. You guys may or may not know, right? But our country, the United States, has had some issues with Iran in the past, and those kind of boiled over a few months ago when literal World War III almost started between the United States and Iran. So the goal of this case study that's going to take us the next few days, maybe even weeks, is to really understand Iran, what's happening, do an overview of their history, but more importantly, we're going to be deciding if their government is legitimate or not. Okay, so there are people that say that there are people that say that there aren't. Okay, based on the criteria that we've looked at, we are going to be, you guys are going to be yourselves deciding if they pass the legitimacy test. Now, you could use the legitimacy test for any country in the world, all right, for any government in the world. The only reason we are choosing Iran is because they have some clear examples outlined in their revolution. And I also think it's really important for us to be able to understand Iran as a people and as a country because we don't know much about them. All right. So let's keep it moving. All right. Number one, this is the flag of Iran. So whenever you see this, you know that you're talking about Iran, right? Here's where Iran is located. All right, so here we are in Chicago, right? So Iran is over here. It's a pretty big country. It's located in the Middle East. It actually has a really strategic and important location. It's at the crossroads between three different continents. So you can see over to the east, we have Asia. Right here's India and China. To the southeast, we have Arabia and Africa. To the north, or sorry, the southwest. To the northwest, we have Europe, right? So it's kind of at the crossroads between these three different continents. So it's at a really important place, right? Here's a close-up of the map of Iran, all right? So you can kind of see geographically where it's located. Here's the capital, Tehran. Up top, we have the Caspian Sea. To the bottom, we have the Persian Gulf, right? So it's in a really strategic location. Its geography is really important. Iran has some of the world's most productive oil fields, which could be problematic in the future, as we'll talk about. All right, so Iran's history goes back thousands and thousands of years. Okay, so in ancient times, Iran was known as Persia. It was the Persians. These are the same Persians that fought against the ancient Greeks, that captured thousands of miles of land in the ancient world, right? This has been a nation. People have been living here for thousands of years. There has been civilization, right? So this is one of the most important civilizations in world history. It's truly amazing the history that they have. Okay, so here is an example of the Persian Empire at its greatest extent. So you could see, right, here's where it's located, right, the country today, but it expanded all the way into Egypt, all the way into Europe, and far into Central Asia, even almost bordering India, right? So we're dealing with a huge circle of influence. Sorry, too far. All right, so that's just a little bit of background on Persia, or sorry, on Iran. It used to be called Persia. Okay, so what we're going to do next, you guys are going to watch a video that's going to talk more about the people, the culture, and the geography of Iran. We're going to learn some background information because the next step is we're going to be talking about a specific event in Iranian history, which is the Iranian Revolution that happened in 1979 and the events that followed. In order for us to fully understand the Iranian Revolution, we have to talk more about what Iran is and who its people are. So follow along with the next video, fill out the worksheet, fill out the discussion post, and you will be ready to roll for this lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. If not, feel free to also go back and stop this video. Other than that, hope you guys enjoy. Again, peace out.